Madam Speaker, I strongly urge my colleagues to support this critical legislation, and I thank the author of this important bill, my colleague from Florida, Mr. Bilirakis, for its introduction, as well as our friend from New York, Mr. Crowley. And with that, Madam Speaker, I would like to yield such time as he may consume to my friend from Florida, Mr. Bilirakis.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today in support of H.R. 2278. I want to thank the gentleman from California, of course, my good friend from Florida, and also the gentleman from New York, Mr. Crowley. My legislation that will direct the President to transmit to Congress a report on anti-American incitement to violence in the Middle East. This nefarious activity is escalating in quality and quantity, fueled by the rapid growth of satellite television throughout the Arab world. In 2008, Al-Manar TV, run by Hezbollah, broadcast over 24 video clips of insurgents' bombings against U.S. and coalition forces in Iraq. Further, Iranian state-controlled TV channels such as R-Fla repeatedly broadcast calls for death to America. And Al-Aqsa TV, an arm of Hamas, broadcast a puppet showing depicting an Arab child stabbing the President of the United States. Instead of denouncing such incitement, many countries in the region provide financial, material, and technological support to the purveyors of incitement. Al-Manar and Al-Aqsa, among others, are transmitted on the satellite providers Nilesat, controlled by the Egyptian government, and Arabsat, controlled by the Arab League. Given the danger such incitement poses to American soldiers and civilians in the region and at home, it is long past time for the U.S. and other responsible nations to stop this growing threat. Passage of H.R. 2278 is therefore critical. This legislation seeking to designate a specially designated global terrorist satellite providers that knowingly engage in contracts with entities already designated as special designated global terrorists under Executive Order 13224. This bill would also make it the policy of the U.S. to urge all governments and private investors who own shares in satellite companies to oppose transmissions of telecasts by any station that openly incite the audiences to commit acts of terrorism or violence against the United States and its citizens. This bill requires the President to transmit a report to Congress that must include a country-by-country list and description of media outlets that engage in anti-American incitement to violence in the Middle East, and a list of satellite companies that carry such media. Most importantly, it must be the policy of the United States in crafting its foreign policy to consider state sponsorship of anti-American incitement to violence when determining the level of assistance to and frequency and nature of relations with regional states. Finally, Madam Speaker, the broadcast of incitement to violence against Americans and our country on television channels and other media that are accessible in the U.S. may increase the risk of radicalization and recruitment of individuals into foreign terrorist organizations that seek to carry out acts of violence against American targets on American soil. This is a concerning trend that must be halted. Madam Speaker, I urge passage of this very important measure, which I hope will improve our national security and the safety of our soldiers and citizens overseas. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And again, I thank the gentleman from California and the gentleman from Florida. Appreciate it very much.
Madam Speaker, I reserve the balance of our time.